Okay, so hello everyone and welcome to this SharePoint webinar. Thank you for your interest and participation. We are thrilled to have you here today and have this opportunity to show you that task management in SharePoint can be made simple and super useful for your clients or your organizations, whether you're a SherWeb partner or a SherWeb clients, because both audiences are attending today, I guess. So before we start, let me just remind you that there's a chat box in a bottom right corner of your screen. Don't hesitate to ask questions to that box. Maj Medina is here to answer your question, and we'll try to shoot us some questions during the presentation, or if we don't have time, we'll take time in the Q&A section at the end. So without any further introductions, let's start with our main subject. Which is, let's start by presentation. Sorry, my name is Simon Langlois, so I'm a project manager here at SherWeb. I'm the one responsible, if you like, our reliability and responsiveness of our SharePoint services, but I'm also the one responsible if you have any problems or missing features you might have encountered. So I'm always looking for feedback and suggestions, whether it's on the market in general or about our services. So you have my contact information here. Here's your chance to influence our product roadmap if you want. I'm also super excited to receive our guest speaker today, Stéphane Blais. Hi Stéphane, how are you doing?
Fine, Simon, thank you. So I'm very thrilled to be a part of this SherWeb presentation today in order to bring more depth to how to use this wonderful application in a specific context here. We're going to talk about task management today.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to have you, and thanks again for your participation. So Stéphane is the CTO of A2B Solution, which is a longtime SherWeb partner, and I'm really glad he could be here today because I think for our partners attending today, you will be able to relate to A2B Solution and see how they add value to our SharePoint hosting services as a local trusted managed service provider and consultant for their clients. And as a consultant too, with years of experience in transforming its client task and project management process, SherWeb clients attending today this presentation, I think they will find a lot of value in his advice due to his long-time experience. So Stéphane, could you give us a little bit more details about your background and expertise?
Well, A2B Solution has been in business for about 10 years now. We evolve as a consulting firm, and we help enterprises to improve their skills, actually the people within the enterprise, to improve their skills on project management, quality management, and obviously continuous improvement, which is in our market today is essential for a company to perform, is to improve continuously on new way to do things, most of the time the same things. Here we're going to talk about project management, and in the past 5 years we've been implementing SharePoint as a collaboration or collaborative tool to help small business and medium-sized business to improve their project management skills and many other areas such as HR or document management. The approach we're using when we go into a company is the Sengen Shugi from the 3Gs from Toyota. My partner has been, I would say, trained by Toyota actually. And this 3G method is the Gemba, the Genbutsu, and the Genjitsu, meaning we go and meet the real people, we deal with the real product, the real application, and we analyze real data before going into implementing something new. So we start from the real, from point A, and we bring the company to point B where they want to go. So that's about it for us. You can go on our website if you want to have more details on the company itself.
That's interesting, and it definitely makes you more qualified than me in that field. So our objectives for today's webinar is to provide the best practices for implementing a project or a task management process with SharePoint and give super users the know-how to use these tools for project management. Also, we will use SharePoint 2013 Enterprise Site Collection for this demo. And because most of you might not have these functionalities or have probably a foundation site, we wanted to highlight key differences along the way. for our agenda. So this webinar is split in 3 sections. It will start by describing a typical scenario of a team project and task management planning. Stéphane will then present a simple yet effective, I think, 3-stage approach to rapidly jump to SharePoint demo, where he will spend most of his time. Finally, I'll have some conclusion thoughts, and we'll try to leave 10 minutes, I guess, for Q&As. So let's jump in our scenario, context, and problematic. So me, Simon Langlois, for the sake of this exercise, let's say I'm the project manager for Expresso. Expresso is a coffee machine manufacturer that is actually working on 2 projects. It's 2 new product launch, so 2 coffee machine. We have a small team of 6 people. We're working with consultant abroad in Italy and Brazil. We also have 2 main clients that are financing the project, the machine developments. So the team is currently tracking deliverables in Excel, so an Excel spreadsheet that is shared on a cloud file repository. It could be SharePoint in our case. It can also be any file system, file server, or cloud sync and share solution. Aside from task status updates that are shared in that spreadsheet, the task executions, the details, the information behind it are all being handled through emails. And that's the first problem we encounter. Small groups of 2 to 3 people are exchanging important information in little silos. So therefore, they're isolating task progression and challenges. So me as a product manager, I always need to get that information out of people. And so let me show you what my actual spreadsheet looks like. So here is my project management sheet. I'm the one responsible for it. I have multiple projects I could see. I have the phases. So I work with 4 phases. We analyze the product, we design concept, we prototype and test, and then we launch the product. So I have my phases. I have different tasks, different status, with drop-down lists that I built on Excel. So different columns. It can be anything you want, anything you are currently working on right now. That's how we do it. So Stéphane, you'll probably tell me that that's wrong, but that's the way.
That's not wrong. That's a way of doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I have problem though. So let's get back into the presentation. So sorry. Okay. So another problem that's mine is that as a project manager, I spend too much time on clerical work. So since there is no co-authoring in SharePoint with Excel, you probably are aware of that. It's only with Word and PowerPoint. I'm always checking out the files. So I'm the only one almost working on it. People are sending me their status update through emails, and a lot of time, as I mentioned, I need to go get that status because they don't do it by default, or they don't do it when I need it. Plus, when priority or deliverables are changing, I always need to inform everyone impacted individually or in small groups of email, like I mentioned. So I shouldn't waste that much time in updating this file and the task status. Everyone in the team should be responsible for their own task that they are assigned to. I would like to be able to grant them access to more permissions to their task level, while still limiting other actions like deletions, for example, because I wouldn't want them to delete their tasks or the versions they have on each task. Plus, the management team is always asking me the updates when the file is not up to date. So again, I can't give them the information they want as fast as they need it, or at the exact moment of when they need it. So Stéphane, how could you help me to get what I need?
Well, first of all, Excel is not the wrong tool. I would say it's the most popular tool currently used because SMBs will not invest into Microsoft project or such a tool that only one license is for one person, so you cannot update your application or have many people update it. So Excel is really the most popular application used currently to track project or to track any kind of task easily and in a shareable way. But as you mentioned it, we can help you to improve that and bring it to another level. So as part of this exercise, what we've done is I've sat down with Simon, and we decided, okay, we understood how they're structuring their project management process, and then we suggested a startup site within SharePoint to bring the project management to another level. The way we did that, when you deal with data, you always deal with three things. The first one is collecting the data. You want to get the data where it is and bring it to the second place where you store it and where you're going to process it. And then after that, you want to publish. That's the third stage. You want to share this data, publish it, get the information rolling, and to get more, I would say, social. That's where you're going to socialize with the data and the people. So the site we're going to present, because we're going to jump into the site quite soon, is already structured. We've created a SharePoint site. We've already populated that site with a customer list, the development process, the project team member. We already have a project list. And we do have the project library, which is what SharePoint has been known for, is document management. But you see that document management in that architecture is a small part of it.
Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing we use it for at the moment at Expresso. So I think we have a lot more to learn.
Yeah, then you can bring that same tool without more licenses, more costs, and do a lot more with it, a lot more with SharePoint. So today the structure is there. We're going to focus on the project task list that we're going to start and create from scratch. And we're going to map your current Excel list or spreadsheet into the task list. That's where we're going to spend most of the time.
Okay.
So are we ready to jump into the application?
Yep.
Okay. So at Expresso, we've created the project site. So that's a site. Right now, we have Tony Start as part of our team, so it's going to be a good Expresso machine.
Yeah. He's in the development team, right?
Exactly. So what we have here is I kept this get started menu just to show you later that we can change it. But when you're going to create a site, you can select a project site or the team site. Doesn't matter, because you're going to build what you want within it, and then you're going to get rid of that menu and put more useful information for your team on the home page. As mentioned earlier, we already created the customer list. So this list can be synced with Outlook, and I can also take contacts from Outlook and add them to the list without retyping everything. Further, what I like is to have more information about my contacts, because I don't want to be limited only to what Outlook offers me. So let's say I'm gonna add a column here, because I need to know what are the spoken language of my customer. So here I'm gonna add this spoken language. And my choices of language will be, let's say, Spanish, English, and French. And this was going to be a drop down, and there will be no default value. Then I'm going to say that Le Gourmet does, one thing that I forgot to do, and I'm going to do it right away. One customer can have more than one spoken language. So what we will do, we're going to allow to select or have more than one value selected. So we can here checkbox this choice column. So this way, when we edit, we can have more than one choice. So for instance, French and English for this guy. And let's say that our Mr. Brian Moore does speak English and Spanish. So our customer list has more added value than what we would currently have from Outlook, for instance. And the good part of that is every team member can benefit from your change here. They already know, they already see it. For the process itself, we've decided here that we will take your process currently used from the Excel list. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy and paste the process. Oh, sorry about that. So here we go. I took your current process. Because you're used to that process, we won't change it. And I've created a separate list for that process. Why a separate list and not a drop-down menu? It's because you can bring more depth if you want to go with the detail of what is the analysis, what are the different deliverables that you would put into the analysis. So you can bring more information on that process. But when you're going to deal with the task, you only deal with the title of the process itself. The project team members. Here I have two types of people. I have my suppliers list, who are my subcontractor, my consultant, that I have the details. I already have my spoken language column. And the site team members. This one here has been populated maybe from your Active Directory or from the control panel. So you add the people you want to have access to the site. And these people, if they configure properly their email address and all their profile, will receive notification. So when they will be following people or when they will be setting alerts on list or task, they will receive alerts and they will know that something is going on. They can go and get the information right away. The next list is a project list. We already set up that list. Note here that the customer here is in blue because it's coming from the customer list. What's good about that is when I click on the customer itself, I can drill down and see all the information about this customer. I have the website, and I could have associated this customer with all the projects that was performed for that customer in the past, and I can click on the project and drill to another project and so forth. So it brings more depth to the project list.
And I see that it can be a lot more scalable than having separate spreadsheet for every project over a couple of years.
Yes.
You can get all the information from that window.
Exactly. So if you structure your site properly with different lists, they can all be linked together and you won't seem to be crowded. You don't want to be crowded in your SharePoint site, otherwise you're going to get tired and leave it there. You want the information to be well organized, well structured, and easy to find.
Okay.
So the library, I will not spend too much time, but that's where you're going to put documents that are connected to your different projects. So here I classified the document by project. Okay, so let's start right away, and we're going to create, we're going to add a task or add the task list in order to do my project task list. And we're going to map your current Excel into that project task list. The first thing you want to do is to actually identify what are the current column used by or provided by SharePoint. So we're going to put them side by side, and what we're going to do, we're going to make sure that we match all the columns here, because you want to replicate and have all these columns within your list itself. So the way I'm going to do it, we're going to go behind the scene and we're going to go to the list settings. And we see here that we have already columns provided by SharePoint when you create a task list from scratch. So what you currently have, you have your percent completed. This one is there. Okay. You have comments. Comments are the description. We can use description, or we can rename it if you want comments. That's okay. So just I'm gonna I like to use color so I know that this one is done. So the comments, so that's not good. So the comments is done. Person completed, done. Owner, we already have a column for that. So the owner is the assigned to. Again, you're used to for the owner terminology, so we're going to reuse it, owner, so we won't get mixed up. And what I'm going to do, if you have all users here, when you're going to select the owner, it's going to search for any user that have access to your company SharePoint site. So we're going to make a selection list only on the project team members that we saw earlier in the the project team member part. So this was going to provide you with a list of people only assigned to that group and not all the people that have access to your SharePoint. Okay, so let's move forward with the other column. End date is already a default one. So these, we have the start date, we have the due date. We're going to keep the same terminology. Start date is good. The status, we have task status. It's a choice, but it's not the same one that you're currently using. So you can always edit those and have the same task status that you're used to have into your company.
Yes, because it's really important for me to keep the same terminology specifically for the task status. It's important for me.
If you don't want your CEO to be asking too many questions because there's a new status coming up. You don't want that. Task name, it's there. The phases of the project, and I kept those 4 for the last because there's no association that we can make. They're not there. So we're going to create those columns. The first one is the phase, and remember the phase is a list that we've created, so we're going to look up to that list. And the list we've created is obviously the phase list. That's how we name it. Is it the development process? Sorry about that. Development process list, and we look up for the phase column.
Okay.
We're going to add it to the content type by default, to all content type and to default view. And we're going to keep here, we're going to click the enforce relationship behavior because we want to enter it from changes that could be made to that upper level list later on. Same concept for the project itself. So we're going to project, look up. Now we're going to look up to the project list, project name, add it to all the content, and also enforce the relationship behavior. Good, so we have those 2 here done. Now we're going to add plan hours and actual hours. Which are numbers. I don't want to have negative hours. I'm going to set the minimum to 0. Actual hours now. Numbers again, and also minimum to 0 because we don't like to have people working negative hours. Now we're all set with all the column type that we're going to use to create, or actually to map, the Excel document into the SharePoint list. Mapping those, you won't have to retype that, Simon. You don't have to retype all your information. It's already there. So what we're going to do, we're going to copy and paste all the lines. But first of all, your columns have to be in the exact same order.
Okay.
And they must be the exact same type. So let's modify the view in order to set this. So we're going to start with the phase first. So the phase is going to be the first one that we're going to put in line. Then we're going to go with the task name. Task name is going to be the second one. The status will be third. Project status, it wasn't selected, so we're going to task status, sorry. It's going to be third. Plan hours will be fourth. Actual hours will be fifth. Then we're going to move forward. Start date, end date. So end date 7. Start date 6. The owner, which is going to be 8. So the owner is 8. Hope I'm not going to mix up. Due date 7. Want to review it at the end. Project, I'm not going to use this one, or maybe at the end. Completed and comments. So percent completed, it's going to be after owner 10, comments is going to be 11. So if I did it properly, I'm going to have all the right ones. So phase, task name, status, plan hours, actual hours, start date, due date. I have my check here that I don't want. Owner, person complete, comments, and project. So I'm going to remove this one here. Completed.
Okay.
Now let's make a test. We select the edit. We're going to test with the first, let's say the first one. This first task here. Whoa. Copy, Control C. You don't want to select only one cell because it will not work. You need to select the entire line. So you paste with Control V, and there we go. SharePoint will analyze all the data in the list and find out that they're all matching, so it's going to be okay. Look here that this one is already striked through because it's already completed. Okay. So it's already done. Okay, so we're pleased with that. So what we will do is we're going to copy the entire first project, and we're going to go project by project. So we're going to take this entire project here. Note that I also take your category, your subtitle. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to select here. It's moment of truth.
Okay.
Yeah, this one does not have a task, and it's normal because design here, it has a phase. So design as it's a phase, okay. Everything is matching, but task is mandatory.
Okay.
So that's why here what we're going to do is we're going to rename it design. So SharePoint will take it. When you copy and paste, you will sometimes have error, but SharePoint will tell it to you, and you can just retype it or select from an actual value that will be
valid.
Valid, exactly, valid value. There we go.
While you're at it, I seem to see a question from Joanne, who's seemed to understand it's not the same version as her SharePoint site. So let me just remind you, that's a SharePoint Enterprise site collection in our shared environment. But all the task lists and features we're showing you right now are available with Foundation as well as standard SharePoint. So it's really small differences in terms of web parts and everything, but really the core focus here is available for all versions of SharePoint. 2013, of course. If you're on 2010, most of these features are still working, but there have been a lot of improvement, notably in what you're right now showing, Stefan, with the copy and paste feature.
Yeah, the copy and paste feature has evolved. But as you mentioned, we can do that in Foundation, Standard, or Enterprise with 2013.
Yeah.
That's right. So here I don't want to stop this. Okay. So what we've done is the first project, it's all there. Why did I'm gonna tag all those tasks here to the project it's assigned to. This one is Espresso with Style. That's the project we have. So we're gonna make sure that all these tasks are tagged to the project.
Okay, and I see you're using the same type of feature too that you have in Excel, where you just slide and copy everything.
Yeah, sorry about that and explaining. It's a drag. We used to see that in Excel, but yes, it's there. So
it's really user friendly.
Very a lot more user friendly than it was on 2010.
Okay.
A lot more. Other thing that I would like to mention here, the design. So that's your first section. Well, first of all, I'm going to indent. What you can do now in 2013 is you can go with several tasks and indent them under, let's say, a mother task. So all those tasks here are under design. Same thing with the prototype task here. I'm going to indent them under prototype. Same thing here for launch. So this way you can just cover up those designs. Let's say your design phase is completed. You don't want to focus on that. You're going to focus on the other one. For the analysis, I'm going to stop this edition here. So for the analysis here, what I wanted to do is insert a group, because I also want to group my analysis into a group of tasks.
I see another question from Joseph asking us if indenting automatically creates a subtask. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Stefan, but I think it's really only on a visual. It's only a visual aid to create a subtask because there's no really reference to it, and that's, I think, a gap in SharePoint right now.
For those of you familiar with, I'm just going to finish. Okay, so for those of you familiar with 2010, there's this notion of task and subtask, where the subtask, the first level is kind of a folder, the second level is kind of an item.
Yeah.
They removed that. You don't have this anymore in 2013, so it's truly just a visual aid.
Yeah.
And mainly, and we'll see that in the Gantt chart. It helps a lot more in the Gantt chart to have this, but you're right, it's not a subtask.
There's another feature though that is called predecessor. So you could add a column, which is an automatic SharePoint column, which is called predecessor, and you could assign a certain task as a predecessor to another one, and in that case, in the Gantt chart too, it would need to be after a second one. Otherwise, SharePoint would notify you that it can't be in parallel, but it's not the same thing as a subtask.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to move faster because of time here, but you understand that I won't be copying the speed and quality project, but it's the same logic. So right now we have our Espresso style project all in there. And what we want to do now, so we collected our data. The data is in SharePoint. You have everything you need. So we're going to process it a bit more and play around with different views that are offered by SharePoint. So I had a hard time to create here the analysis because it wasn't taking that at the first level, but it's okay. I'm going to select the line and I'm going to move it up. So it's going to be now at the first level. And I will select all those tasks and indent it under analysis. I don't know why it's not taking it.
Maybe because your tasks are completed?
Maybe because the tasks are completed. I won't spend too much time with that. So if we look at the different way we can look at the information, we can create various views. The basic view that are coming with that, what I like is my task. because you see what's under your name, and you don't have to bother with everything everyone sees. As a project manager, you might be using this, but you will be using everyone else.
Yeah.
But it's good for people to know they can see only their task. From the Gantt chart, I like it as well, because your Gantt chart will show you how tasks are spread through time. And you mentioned predecessor, you're right here. So let's say that I need to deliver the prototype to the customer, but obviously the prototype has to be built first. So you're gonna select build prototype, and you're gonna see into your Gantt chart appearing the relationship between those two. I'm gonna hit, and I'm gonna go straight to that. So you have the relationship here. So this one is a milestone, but its dependency is there's a link to the dependency of building it, starting there.
Okay, I see it.
Now don't forget that it's not a project, Microsoft project application, so it will not put your start date, end date at the here. So you have to do that manually. So for instance, for the design, if I put the start date, I'm going to copy it into the group, and the end date, I'm going to copy it also into the group. Then you'll see appearing, you're going to see appearing the grouping here into the Gantt, because we don't see it into prototype because we haven't set any date there.
We have an interesting question, Stefan. Someone is asking about the predecessor, and he wants to know if we change the date from the predecessor, the end date, the due date from the predecessor, would it change automatically the start date of the task that is dependent on that?
SharePoint does not have this facility. We're going to test it right away if you want, but if I'm changing the date here, the delivery date did not move. So there's no calculation done between dependency. So from what it's dependent, it will not push forward the following task.
You really need project to do that.
You really need project to do that, because this is a calculated value. We don't forget that SharePoint is web-based. So the internet, your browser, doesn't know the relation and will not calculate everything continuously. It's going to be too time consuming or CPU consuming for your server. So it's not like project. Project is an application, and when it's get too slow, you're going to deactivate the automatic calculation. And when you want to calculate the different dependencies, you're going to hit the button and it will calculate it. So you don't have this notion into SharePoint.
Okay.
However, what can be done is you can link your actual project with Microsoft Project if you want, and you can go in more details in there. So for instance, here we're going to link it to project. Skip the intro. So this is what we have. And
now you can change the dates, and it will automatically.
You can recalculate. It will automatically, and you can sync it back.
Okay.
So you need the specialized tools to do those specialized application. I understand that people have been used to project and would expect SharePoint to do everything project does. They're not there yet. I assume that Microsoft, release after release, they improve their application. At some point, maybe SharePoint will do it, but right now it's just a umbrella application that will bring you a good project management tool, but not a specialized tools like project will do.
Okay. As a project manager, I will still need to work in project, but will be able to synchronize with a SharePoint task list and be able to let the other team members edit their task progression and status. So when I upload it to project, it will already be up to date without me having to send them email and ask for updates. And
that's where you're going to save money, because you only have one project license that you will be using if you want as a project manager, and everyone else will be using SharePoint. They will edit their task into SharePoint, update it, set them to completed, person completed. So that's where you're going to save money.
Okay.
So we went through a few views. Let's go back to all tasks. upcoming task, late task. We're going to move to sharing information. So we're going to move back to the home. We're going to remove this. And what we have on this page, and what I like about, is the timeline. So on your first page, you can add a timeline, which is a web part. I've already added it, but I kind of hide the timeline. So the web part here gives you quick information on the project you're currently working on. So we've moved the building date. Oh, you have one task late, Simon. You should be completing that. So you see your late task to upcoming task. You can click on those and you go to the detail of your tasks that are on the timeline. So the timeline that we see here on the home page is the same timeline that you will see here, up there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's a current match. Maybe they don't have the same scale, but it's the same timeline. If you want to add things to your timeline, now this one here has been synced with my preparation task list. So I'm gonna go, sorry about that, to the content. Let's say I'm gonna go and I did have all the tasks here. I'm gonna go and say let's train production staff. I want to keep close track of that. Then I'm gonna go hit 3 dots and add this to the timeline. Now train production staff is out there. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we go back to the home, it's also there.
Good.
So your boss will just go to the home page and see what he wants to see. Main milestones and where the project's at. You can also sync your Excel and build more graphics. So I did one graphic for you into the site page, project indicator graph. This, Simon, although as you mentioned earlier, it's available only on the enterprise.
Mm-hmm. So it's Excel services.
Exactly. So you need the enterprise version to do that neat, I would say, live sync with Excel. So here I'm not into Excel, it's a web part, and I can sync the data directly with the list. So actually the list is synced to an Excel document. I built all my graph on Excel, then I just post a view of what I want to show. Mm-hmm. So I don't have my data. Well, the data are there here in the background. However, the graphic is what we want to see.
And the data is automatically changing when someone changed a task status, for
example.
Exactly. Okay.
So it's connected directly to the list.
Cool.
Now, if we're going to go further, we see on the home page that people can start discussion here with newsfeed. And we see that Tony Stark did add some news. So you said, okay, newsfeed, and Tony might decide that he likes this new site.
And that's a social feature only available again in Enterprise. So for those of you with a foundation, don't look at these features. They're not there. Still, there's a good web part, which is a note board that can do the same thing. So instead of exchanging a lot of emails, you can use Noteboard to discuss around tasks.
Exactly. So this is only for Enterprise. Another thing very interesting with Enterprise is you have your own profile. So here you can follow people. When you go to the news feed, you can see what people have been saying on you or said. And the task here, you can consolidate all the tasks that you have, because we saw that you only had 2 tasks with the Espresso task list. Where we have more than 2, but here we have only 2 tasks, but we see that you have a lot more tasks on the other project.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to have a single place for all your tasks, even if your project are located on maybe different task lists, different SharePoint sites. They will all be consolidated here on your profile.
And sync with Outlook.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go back.
So someone is asking if we can, it's Joseph again who's asking if we can show tasks that are, if we can only show tasks that are assigned to certain people and not give them access to view all other tasks. Let's say I wouldn't want Tony Stark to see the tasks that I have assigned to Peter Parker. It's fairly simple too, right?
Well, you have to play with views here, because what you need to do is when someone has access to a task list, they will see all the tasks, unless you play with two things. First thing is you can limit the view and only always filter your views with who they belong to, the task, the my task. And you would create for yourself personalized view or private view. So that's the way to do it. Another thing is you can also play with the audience, but that's a feature only available in Enterprise, so the targeted audience.
Okay.
We have another question. We're about 10-12 minutes to the end. Should we move right now to the question part, question and answer?
What you have left, showing us views. I think we
went to view the social. I think the last thing that we can put some more interest on, because we see that we can sync to Microsoft product. You can sync your task with Outlook. The alert is very important, and this is a lot more useful than email, because as the project manager, you can have a daily summary of everything happening on this task list.
Okay.
So you would set an alert and say, okay, I want to receive an email that sends me all the changes done by anyone on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So you will get a summary, and you see what happened, who did what on that task.
And that would be me as the project manager, but as a team member, I wouldn't want to receive all changes.
Exactly. So Tony, on his hand, what he will do, going to refresh his page, so he's going to see that we added the project task list. Tony and his end, what he will do is say, okay, what is being assigned to me? We can play with filter, which is also very interesting. What is being assigned to me is those tasks here. I would like to maybe follow only this one. So you can create an alert only on that task if someone else than me change it.
Okay.
Because I want only me to touch this task. You know how Tony is. So you can play with all the different features of the alert and have them set only someone create something new, modify it, or even if you can create specific views where you will have changes. So for instance, you want to create a view that will focus only on a few tasks, and if something changes in that view, you're going to receive an email.
That's really helpful. That's a lot more helpful than selecting specific tasks all the time to receive notification.
Depends how deep you want to go into micromanagement, but obviously two things I would not recommend in SharePoint is to actually specify specific authorization for a task, because you're going to deal with authorization that are too hard to manage.
Okay.
Or alerts, same thing with alert. At some point you will lose where you set your alerts, and you will have too many emails, which is not the goal here.
And I think you wanted to show us how to do some summary lines or remove some.
The summary lines, you mean about the summary project here?
Okay, that was okay.
Yep.
So I think we generated a lot of interest. Maj, do we have any more questions?
Yes, hello everyone, and thank you Stéphane and Simon for this great presentation. I see a question from Jean-Louis stating, it seems that there is no way to obtain a My Calendar view similar to the My Tasks view, even if we use the same filter. Is that correct?
You can have a calendar filter only on you mean on your task. Is that right? Right now the calendar view has all the tasks. If you go to that view and you modify the view, you should be able to filter on the assigned to, which we call the owner, and equal to me. So you should be filtering on that. No, Tony
perfect.
Stark here.
Okay, so it even gives you the KQL language. So the me you just wrote, that's
Yeah.
good.
Oh, that's perfect.
See that it might not be. I'm not sure. I can test it and send the answer on the blog if you want. But yes, you can filter the calendar view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great.
This one seems I have to look at a bit deeper. Sometimes the me, or you're in French, you have to look for. It's not what it's said here
Mhm.
on the side. You need to use another nomenclature.
Okay.
Perfect.
Any other?
Well, yes, there's another from Vulcan saying, how can I sync from project to SharePoint? I believe it's...
There's a simple button, as we show.
We go from your task list. Project can only be synced with the task list. So if you use a personalized or custom list, it will not work. Okay, so you have to go with the task list, and from that list we go to project, and what he wants to do, maybe it's already open. The changes that you're making here will synchronize. So everything you make as a change in SharePoint will synchronize there, and fields that are native field will synchronize from project to SharePoint. Sometimes you might have errors if you don't have all the. You might have some parameters to configure, especially in the list. So you have to make sure you go to the list. For instance, advanced settings. You have things here like allow items from this list to be downloaded to offline clients, for instance.
Okay.
Or you need also to make sure that you have the permission to write to that list or to make change to that list. That's very important.
Great, thank you. There's another question from Joseph stating, I believe this is a simple permission question. So is there an easy way for a task list to only show the tasks to particular users that are assigned to these tasks?
I think that's the question from Joseph. I replied earlier today, not today, but in the presentation.
I'm sorry for that if I'm...
No, there's no... Unless you go with the audience, there's no way, but you need the enterprise version for that. If you have the foundation for that version, you have to play around with views. So you only create views that people will see, will be filtered on the owner of the task. That's the only way to do it. And all the private views, then you will see everything else. It's a lot of management, but that's the way to do it with foundation. If you go with enterprise, you have to play with audience targeting, and you have to enable these settings here. So you can decide which column is seen or not seen, but we're playing with columns here, or assigned to. This can be experienced in more depth into another webinar because it has more. It's an area where we can spend a lot of time.
Absolutely. So another question from Susan is there any way to add threaded discussions amongst the participants in a project? Something similar to Basecamp, for example?
Threaded discussion, is she talking about what we have here?
I guess she's talking about the newsfeed right there. The newsfeed is really focused on the site. So if you're, as in your question, you're looking to a newsfeed related to a project or a specific site, that's a good tool. Only available again in in standard and enterprise version. In Foundation, there's a notepad, not notepad, but noteboard, which is really a web part that can be a bit more specific to a task. For example, it can be not a column in a task, but in an exit form from a task. You can have a noteboard that is only viewable for this particular task, whereas newsfeed are really for the whole site.
Yeah. What is also useful if you want to track or exchange on a given project, what I like to do, for instance, I'm going to add here another column, a text column, multi-line, enrich, it's okay, and append. So you use a text column, and let's say we go with comment, or we'll call it, okay, discussion. And you're gonna make sure the change are append. Obviously I'm gonna make sure that before I append the change, there's a dependency here. You go to versioning, you need to enable your version. And then I'm gonna go back to the discussion column that I've created.
Bottom, yeah.
Yep, right there, and then I'm gonna append the change. What this does, and I'm not sure if it's gonna meet your need, but I'm using it a lot. It's every time I'm gonna exit this field, okay, let's say good, I'm gonna exit it another time. I see who edited it prior to me and what was there, and I keep track of all the changes.
Oh wow, okay. That's even better than no board.
So okay, very good. So that's what we have. The only thing I don't like about this feature is you don't see the entries, because otherwise it will get too long, I assume. So you have to click on it, open the item, and you see the tracking of what has been said on this particular project. This type of column, text column with the append, is available on all list type.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Stefan. Simon, I believe this question is for you, and I'll give you 1 minute to answer it because we're running out of time. How is SharePoint licensed in SherWeb?
Basically, we charge for the hosting cost in terms of gigabytes per site collection. So what you see there is a site collection. If you have a 5 gig site, for example, it's $45 per month. For Foundation, as you may know, it's the free version from Microsoft, so there's no cost per user. There you can really add as much users as you want. So that's why it's really the hosting, the service, the support cost that's behind this per gigabyte cost, if I could say. But we also have lately the standard and enterprise version that are available as a shared SharePoint instance. So for these, they're the same cost for hosting for the site quota as the Foundation, but Microsoft also charge us per user per month. So on top of the hosting cost, the site quota, we have a $5 per user cost for a standard user, and a $9 per user for enterprise. And the new thing with the 2013 version, which is pretty interesting, is you can mix and match these two licenses in the same site. So if you have a SharePoint server site, you can mix and match standard and enterprise, but you can't match with Foundation since it's not the same code.
Thank you very much, Simon. I believe that's it for the questions. And if there are any other questions, we will definitely reply them on the emails. And of course, feel free to reach out to us at any time. I'd like to take this quick opportunity. I'm Majd Medina, the marketing manager for the partner network, to announce that first of all, this morning we just announced a case study around SharePoint that you can find in our blogs section for the SherWeb website, and we're also launching today an out-of-the-box campaign that really helps our partners and customers identify how to analyze the right cloud solution through our ebook. So for our partners, especially of course our white labeling partners, the ebook does not mention SherWeb and is a great study study that really highlights the value of on-prem versus cloud, and it's 100% objective. So you can use that ebook to simply remove the cover pages and add your own logos, as well as utilize our TCO calculator, which is also based on very extensive studies to really highlight to your customers the difference in cost saving between going to the cloud or staying on-prem. At any point in time, if you need your account manager support, please, of course, feel free to reach out to them directly or contact us through partner@sherweb.com. And you will also find, of course, on your toolbox a lot of additional resources to help you both on the sales and technical side. So with that being said, I'd like to thank Stéphane and Simon, and I'd like to return the mic back to Simon.
Thank you, Maj. Another thing I'd like to highlight is maybe do a little partner call out, because I'm really glad we could have you, Stéphane, on this webinar today. And in fact, Stéphane was the one who reached out to us because he wanted to collaborate with us and show his expertise in that field. And we're always looking for partners who wants to show what they do with our services, how they add value for their customers on top of SharePoint for this matter, but it could be Exchange, could be any online backup services we have. So anytime, don't hesitate, we're all ears for you. And last thing but not least, we're going to SharePoint Vancouver, SharePoint Summit in October. So if you're interested to know more about SharePoint, what's the news, come and meet us there for our Northwest customers and partners. We'll be there waiting for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.